Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Window Seat. In today's interview, I'm joined with the amazing Darnell Temenu, who you'll have seen on this channel before when we did like a collaborative shoot at the Barbican in London. And I've also been on his channel before when we did the shoot with the Ilford disposable cameras. So if you haven't checked out those videos, I will link them in the description. But yeah, I'm not going to speak too much longer. We're going to get straight into the interview. If you do want to hear more about Darnell, more from Darnell, then I will link his Instagram, his YouTube, and all of that good stuff in the description. So thank you so much for joining me. You guys watching will probably know Darnell from my channel. We did a video not that long ago on my channel and on his channel. But for those of you that don't know Darnell, do you want to introduce yourself, Darnell?
Yeah, I'm Darnell Temenu, South London-based fashion and portrait photographer. Also a YouTuber now, just recently started my channel this year, but I'm also a foodie, a movie buff, traveller, I love to travel, tech geek, movie lover, all of the above.
Amazing. So, you are, what would you say? You're a photographer, you're a creative, you kind of have a lot of strings to your bow?
Yeah, kind of, I would say a content creator, mainly photography, but I'm now focusing this year on a lot more video content and kind of just showing my process behind the scenes. Gonna start doing a bit more creative videos as well. I want to start getting into directing, so maybe a couple music videos as well. But just trying to do everything I can visually and to do content pretty much.
Amazing. So how did you kind of get into that world of like visual, I guess like lens-based media?
Weird story. So I think I was 16 or 17. I got some money for my birthday, and as I said, I'm a tech geek. I love tech, and I was like, what can I get with this money that I got? And there's a shop in the UK called Carey's. Just popped in there and I saw this camera on offer and I was like, oh cool, let me get this. And even before that, my mum always used to take me to these creative camps during the summer. So I went to one in Manchester, a couple in London, and that kind of sparked my interest with just creativity. So we done some documentary work, we done some game creation, photography. So the seeds are kind of planted there, but when I got that camera was when I realized I might be a bit decent at this. So just took pictures of friends, literally anything I saw, like plants, moving objects, anything, and just kept doing that for a couple years. And then I went to university to study. Initially I'd done computer science, which I absolutely hated. I did it for a whole year because in college I did ICT or IT, which at the time I loved. I loved computers, I loved coding and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't too creative, so I needed kind of an outlet to get my creativity out, and photography was kind of that. I've been running with it ever since, pretty much.
I think it's interesting how many people in the creative sphere that I've kind of met and like spoken to actually started out or had an interest in that kind of like IT kind of world. In the last one of these I did with JM, he did his master's in IT, and he's a photographer now. And like me personally, like when I was younger, like I used to code a lot and stuff like that. It's not something I do now, but it's interesting how there's those like kind of parallels between like the technical world and the creative world, I guess.
I think they kind of link in, because in some aspects you do need to be technical with, for example, your equipment and like being like kind of tech savvy with like computers and stuff. So there needs to be kind of a foundation there. So I think that's kind of how it links in, possibly.
Yeah, for sure. So how would you, talking about your photography work in particular, how would you kind of describe your work for people who haven't already seen it?
This question I always find quite difficult. I don't like describing my own work, but if I had to, I would say it's pretty spontaneous, I would say. Like, spontaneity is like one main aspect of my work. When I'm shooting, I kind of have a location planned, but pretty much I'll go around that area with the model, and just find locations in between. I think that's creativity at its purest form. Just kind of running and gunning, finding locations, but I also like really clean and eye-catching images as well. Like, not too much is going on in my image, but there's enough to kind of catch your eye and be like, oh, that's cool, I want to check this guy out, kind of thing. I would say that's kind of my kind of style, I would say.
So when you're like taking a photo, like in particular like portraits and stuff like that, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking for that kind of clean environment, or what's kind of what captures your eye?
Yeah, I like to kind of merge both the architecture or nature and the model together. So I tend to shoot on location, studio shoots here and there, but like my preference personally is on location shoots, because I like to get elements of, as I said, architecture and nature into my pictures. So you can kind of get a taste of where I am taking the pictures, but you also kind of, the model and the location kind of fuse together as one, I would say.
Absolutely. What about your process? So you said that like you kind of walk around with the model. I feel like we're quite similar in that way. Like we'll just kind of walk around and see what you see. But is there like a specific process that you have in mind that you try to kind of keep to? Like, do you create a mood board? Do you discuss locations with your model? Like what's kind of the vibe that you usually start with?
Typically for like my like personal projects and test shoots, I don't know, I get inspired by anything. Like, I could be watching a movie, I could see it like a stranger on the street, an album I've listened to, it will spark an idea, and from there I try and gather some references on like a mood board or just a collection of images, find like a decent amount of pictures, put them together. Once I have those, I think the location is the second most important part. It plays a huge part in my pictures as well. So I try and find a location that matches the vibe I'm going for. It's something that in the UK or in London I kind of struggle with sometimes, because a lot of the ideas I have are not possible to execute here. Well, they are, but it'll be a lot easier in different locations. For example, New York. It is similar to London, people say, but I find it's like a photographer's playground in New York. There's so many, in terms of my style personally, I feel like New York is like the perfect place for me to kind of shoot. Also like LA, even abroad in places like Thailand and Bali, just you've got the nature there as well. Like, I like to contrast like natures and having like cities as well. But I definitely, yeah, I say that for sure.
And travel in general, like, is a big part of what you do. I know you like travel. Do you travel for work? Like, do you ever travel to kind of like connect with creatives, or is it always just to kind of see the area and the location?
It's a mixture of both. So there in 2018 I had like probably like the best work trip like of my life, with this channel called Passport Heavy. Not too sure if you guys know about them, but check out their content. They're on YouTube. They do like these really high production travel documentaries. So we started off in Ukraine, went to Amsterdam, Bali and Thailand. So that was a work trip, so I was doing all the content for their page on that, the photography. But also I like to just travel like for my own personal trips too. So me and one of my good friends, Nia the Light on social Instagram and YouTube and whatnot, we randomly just booked a trip to Faro in Portugal, which was not really known like at the time. Like, we went there and it was empty, there was nobody there at all, but we literally went there for about, I think it was 4 days, and just shot content every day, and I got some of my favorite images like ever from that trip. So I don't know, I get, yes, like, and the thing with like, for example, the pandemic now, it's taken away those kind of spontaneous trips. I can't just book a weekend elsewhere and, you know, shoot some content, get inspired from being abroad. That's one thing I'm finding so difficult at the moment. Like, travel is not just with my work, just in my general life. Like, I love traveling. That's like one of my favorite things in the world.
Have you got anywhere like post-pandemic that you're thinking of going, or like trips planned or anything?
So I'm actually working on relocating somewhere, like at the moment. But I don't want to say until it's kind of set in stone. It's in the works. But I would say Brazil and Cuba are two places that the culture there, and just aesthetically, and Cuba especially looks like it's a time capsule. It doesn't look like it's even in 2021 anymore. Like, it looks like you've gone back in time when you go to Cuba. So just to experience that would be really cool. I don't think you even have like phone connection out there.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi or nothing. Okay, maybe not phone connection. I think it's a Wi-Fi. Don't quote me, but yeah, like it's like a step back in time. But the place I think I really want to go back to is Japan. I went there in, I think it was 2018 as well. And I captured a lot of stuff for like my own personal project, but I was there for about maybe 2 weeks, which was not enough at all. I'd love to go back just for the sole purpose of documenting it, the different cities. So I went to Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, but I only spent a day in Kyoto, and that was like my favorite place I've ever been, like 100% hands down. So I'd like to go there, maybe do like a photo book, or just like document it properly, spend some time there, get to know the people, and just integrate a little bit and document it. I think Japan is, yeah, it's definitely up there for me as well.
Have you ever kind of like gone to a place and reached out to like local models or like creatives and stuff like that? And if not, like, would you want to try that, or?
Yeah, so I think when was this? In 2017 or 2018, I can't remember what year it was, a couple of years ago. I'm just super spontaneous, like with everything. I booked a trip to Paris, just a solo trip. Just took me, my camera, my laptop, booked a cheap Airbnb somewhere near the central part of Paris, and just emailed a bunch of modeling agencies. Ended up shooting about 3 models from that agency. And I worked with like a stylist out there called Youth SMHR, I think is his name on Instagram. But he's done some really good stuff. Check his page out. But I just connected with them out there just through, literally, it was a random trip. I just took my laptop, emailed a bunch of like modeling agencies, and I don't know, I think in this era, you can connect to people so easily through social media, through emails, because your portfolio is literally on your Instagram. They can have one look at your Instagram and be like, okay, cool, I want to work with this guy, let's link up. And it's just like, it was instantaneous, just like that.
So when you kind of like, when you were in Paris and you were working with these models from the modeling agency, was there, obviously, do you speak French?
No.
No?
No,
so,
okay. No.
So is there kind of that like language barrier, or how did you kind of work around that?
Lucky for me, I think a lot of people in France speak English, or understand a bit of it, but I think there was more of, I don't know, like there's a certain swagger you have when you come from London and the certain so I think those differences kind of come into play, but I just try to be as polite as possible, and just keep focused on the projects that we're shooting. But at the end of, like, I still follow the girls that I shot from there. We still interact here and there. The modeling agency actually still kind of reaches out here and there, but obviously I can't go to Paris as well. But yeah, it wasn't too bad because they speak English, a lot of people in Paris, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, because that's something that I'd like to do it. I'd like to go away and just like book work, or, you know, book in some test shoots or something. But I don't know, I think it's probably a very English thing, isn't it? Like, we're quite ignorant in that sense. Like, we don't, not many of us speak another language. Yeah. And I don't want to come across and like just assume that these people are going to speak English and like cater to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always kind of like, you know, steered away from it, even though it's something that I'd want to do. But, you know, I might give it a go. Paris is easy to get to, at least. Like,
I think you should, like, that was the first time I did a solo trip, I think, abroad. And ever since then, I've been like just doing them like on random weekends. Like it's so, as I said, literally just look through your Instagram, search the Paris tag, whatever location you're going to, you can find models, reach out, and 9 times out of 10 they'll be down to work with you. Like it's super fun, super fun.
So when it comes to scouting locations in other countries, obviously I presume that most of the time, like if you're going to Paris, you're going for that couple of days or whatever, and you're going to want to book in those shoots. You might not have time to kind of walk around and for the sole purpose of location scouting. So would you use Instagram in that? What kind of, how would you look for locations, or would you just meet somewhere and just see what you see on the way?
So what I did was, it was a mixture of just typing in like Instagrammable spots in Paris, for example. But what I think I did as well was I looked at photographers in Paris, and I just looked at their work and locations they used on their page, and a lot of them didn't tag the locations, but the ones that did, I kind of just used that for reference, and then cross-referenced it with like Google Maps, seeing how far it was from my Airbnb. You can also use Street View as well to see if there's any places along the way to the location, but you can pretty much scout anywhere, like from your bedroom now. Like it's pretty easy. But I would say, yeah, I tend to, when I'm in the UK, I like to go to the locations physically first, but if I can't do that physically, then I'll have to just use, like, as I said, go to like a photographer's page, see what locations they've used. And that's another way, like, I actually found models I could reach out to too. So I just search in like Paris photographer, look at their page and see if there's any models that are like in line with my kind of aesthetic, and just reach out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you gonna, when the world opens up again, is your YouTube gonna see more of your travel content? I presume it will.
Oh yes. I'm kind of, because like before COVID, like I traveled probably, I'd say at least 3-4 times a year, and I kind of regret not starting my channel then. I don't want to say regret, because everything happens at the right time, but I wish I documented those trips, because there was like so many. I like to inspire others to travel and kind of create abroad and interact with people that are not from home. I feel like going abroad and meeting other people, seeing different perspectives, it just makes you a bit more well-rounded, and it inspires you in different ways, man, like completely.
Absolutely. So talking about your YouTube channel, what kind of spurred you on to, starting on YouTube and taking that jump?
First of all, I don't know if there's probably like a load of photographers watching this as well, but Instagram just wasn't inspiring me to create at all. I think 2020 was like one of my worst years creatively, personally, for myself. Like, I don't know, the whole algorithm thing, and Instagram is just not what it used to be. It used to be a platform, I think, solely for photographers. Like, photographers really loved to go to Instagram. That was their go-to platform. But now it's just become this, I don't even know what to call it, this it's got like a shop feature now. It's got all these extra little things. It's like, it's not made for just sharing photos, and you've got to do all these little kind of things to boost your posts being seen. You've got to use reels, you've got to use the carousel, you've got to post at certain times. Just like before, back in the day, you could post a picture of, I don't know, like a waffle you made or something, and you can get like 300 likes. Like, it was so fun and just carefree, which is like, I find cool people are doing like these photo dumps on Instagram now, which kind of brings it back to what it used to be, which I find really cool. Yes, it was super casual, but I think it was watching YouTubers like yourself, Valanders, Vincent Perry, a couple other photographers as well. It kind of showed me that I could express myself a lot more in this visual format. I'd done like maybe a video, I done like the photographer challenge that Jessica Cabasey done like a couple years ago. It did pretty decent, but I never followed up on it, because I just don't know, I wasn't in the right headspace to do it. But I don't know, I feel like I'm I'm ready now, basically. And also with like YouTube, I feel like on Instagram, for example, your content dies after 24 hours. Once you posted that photo, nobody's really going to go back to it. Whereas on YouTube, your videos can kind of live on for forever, pretty much, until YouTube crashes, which it never will, I don't think. So like, for example, you could post a video today, it doesn't get many views, but in a year's time, you might get 100,000, for example. So it's in that kind of way. So it's a long game, which I like.
Absolutely. So like talking about that, obviously talking about algorithms and things, something that is quite prevalent in the moment is TikTok, and you touched on Reels and that kind of like, you know, really short form content. Is TikTok something that you have experimented with or want to experiment with, or is it not really your kind of, you know, vibe?
I think I've posted one TikTok so far, and I see the appeal of it. I can see why creatives would use the platform, but for me personally, I don't know, I just don't really warm to it, and that's not to discredit anybody that uses it. It's just personally not for me, and I feel like I'm already doing enough, I think so anyways. Like with my YouTube page, I use Twitter a lot as well. That's a really good platform for creatives to connect, and also Instagram. I feel like I'm pretty active on all three socials, and I don't know, I just don't really have the drive, or it doesn't encourage me to create like, for example, YouTube does. YouTube really inspires me to create, I would say, and I don't feel like TikTok, and I don't know, like a lot of the stuff I see is not super original. Like to get on the top kind of to get picked up in the algorithm, you have to use the popular songs, for example. But I like to go against the grain. I don't like to use stuff that's popular or that's popping kind of thing. So it's just like, you know what, you guys can kind of keep it. I'll do my thing on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot.
I think that's the thing as well. Like, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin. Like you say, as creatives, we are kind of expected to use so many different platforms to keep ourselves relevant and to get our work out there. And yeah, like stretching yourself too thin and then not having the opportunity to create meaningful content is kind of, you know, like shooting yourself in the foot sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think with TikTok as well, it's the first time that I've ever felt as though I'm too old for something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a generational thing where, you know, I've tried to use TikTok and I am using it, and I have found that it gets kind of easier to kind of get your head around and stuff like that, and to enjoy. But at the same time, like my sister, there's only 3 years between me and my little sister, and she like spent so long trying to teach me how to film something on TikTok. Mm-hmm. Like it's just something completely new, and I think because we're so used to like YouTube and Instagram, it's just kind of like throwing that spanner in the work and having to adapt is kind of scary, isn't it? It's like you don't really want to do it.
What's crazy is like my girlfriend's little sister, I think she's 13 now, but I met her when she was like, how long have I been with my girlfriend now? She's gonna kill me, I've forgotten. 4 years now. So she was like I think she started using TikTok when she was like 10. This is before like anybody was on it. So like these kids have been on it for a couple of years. They know how to record. They know what works. I'm just like, you know what? I feel I'm definitely too old for this. Like it's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because we're not old in the grand scheme of things at all. So it's like it's a weird thing. But
trends move fast. They move fast.
They do. It's like Snapchat, isn't it? Like the rise of Snapchat, and I feel like the fall of Snapchat as well. I haven't used Snapchat in years, honestly.
Yeah, Snapchat, the thing is, it was very cool at first, and then I think Instagram kind of when it had stories, that's when it kind of died. Nobody used it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to like talking about your work and stuff, do you have a favourite piece of work or a favourite photo?
So that goes back to my Paris trip, actually. I don't know, I've got so many pictures that I really like, but there was one I took in Paris of this model called Yuri. This was through that modeling agency that I worked with in Paris. We were just exploring the streets of, I'm not too sure what the area was called, but I think it's Pigalle. I think that's the name of the area. But you've probably seen like this tennis court that's like painted really like kind of in different colors, but they always like switch it up here and there, so it's not the same color it was when I was there in 2017. But we was walking around that area, and there was like literally just in the middle of the road. I'm not too sure if you can post it up like in the edit or whatever, but it was in the middle of the road. Put it up, yeah. Just going past the zebra crossing, but it was like, I don't know, it looked really moody, like street style kind of, and just it was the journey leading up to the picture, like me randomly booking that trip, messaging these agencies, and leading up to that photo. Like I felt really accomplished like taking this picture.
So this picture in particular that you're talking about, I think that something that's really nice about this picture is there's quite a lot of intimacy in it. When you're, obviously, I presume you only met this model on this day because it was the shoot in France. But how do you kind of try and pull that out of models that you might not already have a pre-existing relationship with?
That kind of ties into like my shooting style. So it's, as I said, I'm pretty spontaneous with the shots I get and just working in and around the area I've chosen. But along the way, like at the end of the day, like that's another human being. Like I want to kind of get to know the person, like know your interests, know what like you're about kind of thing. I want to know about you. That kind of makes them a bit more relaxed, I would say, just having a casual conversation with like the person I'm working with. Of course I treat it like work as well, like I'm there to get the images, but I want to, like, I'm a people person. I like to interact, I like to talk to people, and I think that makes them a bit more comfortable when shooting with me, which is, a couple of people have said that before as well, which it makes me happy to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do, like, what I like about your work is that you kind of do a bit of everything. So we've kind of touched on like your travel, street photography that you do portraiture, and then you do like more documentary style kind of stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about, you know, that?
Yeah, so some, like, I don't like to kind of put myself in like a box, but you kind of have to give yourself a title. I mainly do fashion and portraits, but I do like to do a bit of documentary style work as well. So in last year, I can't remember what month it was, but when the whole George Floyd situation happened, the BLM marches, it happened globally, but in London we had the protests. I think it was for at least a week. Protests were going on. But I was like a bit hesitant to go and document it because we was in the midst of a pandemic, but I kind of felt a duty to document it and have a piece of history kind of taken by me, and kind of just have like play my part in what was happening. So this is actually another image that I would say is one of my favorites. I saw this lady in the middle of the crowd. She was wearing this mask saying, "I am a strong black woman." Literally just on the whim, I could have missed her. Took that photo, and it's really, with everything that was going on at the time, it really said a lot, and a lot of people resonated with the image. And I'm super happy that I just kind of plowed through like my anxiety and went out and documented what happened that day.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I think this image in particular is really strong because, what did you use, like an 85 or something lens wise?
It's actually my 35mm, yeah, which I was kind of surprised how it came out. Yeah,
but obviously in the background of this image you'll see that you can tell that there's stuff going on, but you can't tell what's happening. And I think that focus on the women in the frame is. Did you get to send this to her? Did she see it?
The thing is, I think I noted down her Instagram, but I think she deleted her page, so I couldn't send it to her or anything. But if she sees this video, like, hit me up, I'll send the picture to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a lovely photo of her as well. Like, it's such an important and powerful photo. I think it'd be amazing if she was able to kind of get to see that. I think that's an interesting thing about documentary, and something that when we did the videos that we filmed a couple of months ago, and the one that's on your channel where we used the disposable cameras, something that I really liked about your style of kind of getting those street portraits was that you weren't afraid to go up and, you know, ask people for a photo, people that you found interesting, stories that you wanted to kind of capture. And was that like always the way for you? Have you always been quite confident in trying to go out and get those images?
So when I first picked up a camera, I started off doing street photography. That was my kind of go-to because I didn't have a portfolio at the time, so I couldn't reach out to like modeling agencies or models or people to work with. So I'd literally just go out and shoot like architecture, cityscapes, or just random people that I found interesting. When I first started, I was really nervous approaching people. It takes a long time to kind of be confident to just approach a random and be like, oh, can I take a photo of you? But the more you do it, the more comfortable you kind of get at approaching people, and you can kind of tell which people will be more interested in doing it than the ones that wouldn't. You kind of, I don't know, you can kind of suss it out the more you do it. And also, I'm not afraid of people saying no. Like, you're not obliged to take a picture for me. Like, you're not. So if you say no, it's cool. I go about my day. You go about yours. But I think people are. I was speaking to my friend about this the other day, actually. There's this channel on YouTube called The Unknown Vlogs, and he just goes around and asks people like, what are you wearing, your outfit, kind of thing. And he was like, my friend said to me, like, I wouldn't like somebody coming up to me doing this, I don't think people would like it. But I think you'd be surprised how much people would kind of like to be like admired and like have a picture taken of them or ask the question. I think like every human has like beautiful qualities to them, and I think it's really cool just to document it every day.
Absolutely, that's really nice. So like when you started, if you started in street photography and now you say like you do more like fashion and portraits, have your inspirations in photography changed during that kind of process of you changing as a photographer, or do you still kind of draw inspiration from the same artists?
It's weird because I wouldn't say like I have photographers I look to and I'm inspired by, but I don't know, as I said before, like I kind of just look to everyday life to inspire me. I try to look within myself to inspire and motivate myself, and I feel like everybody should, not saying I'm like the best photographer in the world or nothing like that, but I feel like you should be able to kind of inspire yourself and get yourself motivated. But I'd say like photographers like, I don't know if you heard of Chi Modu. He's a Nigerian photographer. He shot a lot of the 90s hip-hop artists, such as like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Biggie, but he also did a lot of travel documentary work as well. I think he went to Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, some stuff in Malaysia, but his work really inspired me to, that's why I kind of have like a varied portfolio. So I do a lot of travel stuff, documentary stuff, but also with the fashion style work as well, which is like the fashion stuff is my signature style, I would say, but I also like to delve into different kind of stuff as well, and I say he really inspired me. But with the fashion side of things, photographers such as like Vicky Grout, UK based photographer, and also Ashley Verse, he's a London based photographer too. They were the main two, I would say, that kind of showed me like you can kind of do this, you can make something of yourself doing fashion photography. Like I really love both of their styles, and also like as I said, mentioned before, like Valandas, like I really love his work as well. That's inspired me to get into YouTube. Vincent Perry again, there's you as well, Sophia. Like there's so many.
Yeah, I think what you said at the beginning about how you look for like inspiration in every day, I feel like that probably maybe stems from the fact that you did start in street photography, and that kind of, you know, observation of the everyday is quite apparent in your work. Like you said, like that you look for locations and that's a big part of your work. I think that's quite apparent, and probably why your work and the variety in your portfolio kind of gels together so nicely. In terms of, you know, if you had a dream, if you could design like a dream shoot, like an ideal shoot, what would that look like?
A dream shoot. That's an interesting question. I'd say definitely be in a location such as, like I mentioned before, New York. I like, for me, New York photographers are the best. Like, they are the cream of the crop. They are some of the best. Just in terms of location, it will definitely be based in New York. I'd love to shoot like Pharrell for like a Bape campaign. Growing up, like I listened to a lot of the Neptunes, and they always used to wear like the big massive Bape jackets and hoodies, and it always like just kind of wowed me. So it's kind of stuck with me since I was a child. But I'd love to shoot like a campaign with Pharrell and the Neptunes in New York for like Bape or Stussy or Carhartt, one of the streetwear brands. I would say that would be a dream shoot for me, I'd say.
Yeah. So like in terms of your, I guess like your next steps in your career, like what are your aspirations? Where do you see yourself? I hate the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But that kind of vibe, like what do you kind of see for your career?
So I my next focus is definitely this YouTube channel. I'm trying to create like I'm trying to be a bit more active in creative communities, and to kind of, I want to inspire people. Like, I want to inspire the next generation. I was born and raised in a place called Peckham in London, if anybody knows, your viewers know at all. And it's kind of notoriously known for like gang related activity. It was a rough place to kind of grow up. But creativity kind of distracted me from that. Like taking photos. I used to make like Yu-Gi-Oh cards when I couldn't afford them or anything like that. So I think in the next couple of years, I just want to keep inspiring people to pursue their creative passions, get this YouTube up and running. I want to also, I don't know, get a couple more big campaigns under my belt. Like I mentioned before, spend a couple years in the States working with a couple brands and models, but I feel like there's more opportunity abroad at the moment than there is in the UK. I feel a little bit stagnant here, so I think there's definitely a move on the cards for me, I think.
That's exciting, I think. It'll be interesting. I've been following like your journey as such for a really long time, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where the next few years take you, for sure. But like finally, and I guess in a similar vein to you saying that you want to, inspire people to follow their creative passion, do you have any advice for people who are trying to follow their creative passion and trying to get into photography or art, the arts in general?
I would say just don't think about it too much. Like, it's very easy to get caught up on like the numbers and the likes and chasing clout and this and that. Like, don't think about it too much. If you want to take pictures, pick up a camera. If you have an iPhone, it's a point and shoot pretty much. Start taking pictures of your friends, your family. Go out. Like, don't, just have fun with it at first. Like, don't think about it too much. And it's just start. Like, don't wait too long, just start. Like, I think I've been taking pictures for maybe when would I start? Probably like 10 years now, I would say. I haven't been, not professionally for the whole 10 years, but I picked up a camera about 10 years ago, which I'm grateful for. But I know a lot of people that are kind of like, oh, should I start? I'm too old, I shouldn't do this. But you're never too old for anything. You're never too young to start anything. If you have a passion for it, just begin. Like, there's no reason for you not to pursue it at all. And don't let social media kind of get you down. Just create it for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be interesting. We already touched on social media before, but I think it'll be interesting to see how the creative industry evolves as social media evolves, and whether or not there's more emphasis or less emphasis on social media as kind of time goes on. But I think the premise of what you're saying there is definitely important. I think just go for it is a good piece of advice.
You got nothing to lose, like absolutely nothing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been amazing talking to you. I will link you in the description If everyone wants to go and check out Darnell's channel and his Instagram or his work, it's all going to be linked in the description for you to check out. But thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.